Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new season of the Purposeful Life Show with your host, Adrian Starks. I'm excited to share some new updates of the show with you, starting with a new look, sound, and energy, as well as a variety of guests coming aboard with intriguing topics of conversation. I hope you enjoy the new level of energy that will be brought to the show. Thank you for all of your support since the very beginning in 2019. Wow, it's been 3 years already? Because of you, the Purposeful Life Show is now in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, and we aim to get it into the top 1%. Continue listening to the show and share it with others. You can also now listen to the show on my Facebook page at Adrian Starks, where you can comment in real time and communicate with me about your aha moments. Thank you again for all of your support, and let's make this one hell of a year and be purposeful about doing that. Wishing you all much love and success. Hi, my name is Adrian Starks, and welcome to the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast. This podcast is for the courageous creators wanting to create a life of meaning, adventure, and fulfillment, all while helping to make the world a better place. I'm happy you're here, and if you're new to our show, make sure to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Also, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Champion Up. It is always that one idea that could be your breakthrough. It's time to step into your courage and believe the champion in you. Well, welcome everyone back to the Champion Up podcast and a Purposeful Life Show. I am your host. My name is Adrian Starks, and we're excited to have you here. Make sure you get that Champion Up app and go to the App Store and type in Champion Up for a free download. Also, make sure to give us that 5-star rating so that we can continue to promote this show and get these great messages out here. And also subscribe so you will be on the lookout for new episodes coming your way weekly. Today, we are back with a wonderful gentleman named Mr. Greg T. He was sharing some time with us last week about, helping us learn more about branding. We called it How About a Helping Brand. And yeah, I said helping brand, not helping hand. Today, we're going to say, how about another helping brand? And we have Greg on our show. Greg, can you to our audience?
Hey there, Adrian. Great to be back. Thank you so much for having me. Hey, you called me a gentleman. Thank you.
Hey, well, you are a gentleman. And I had, some people would say, hey, this Greg T guy is awesome. You call him Mr. Green or what is it? I said, no, his name is Greg T. He's the brand guy and this is what he does. And so they wanted you back on the show because they wanted to know more information about branding. And so that's why we got you here. So a little bit about Greg. Greg is the founder and CEO of the company, The Image Stop, where he brings his passion for real branding, marketing, design, and helping others succeed to his company and each project he has been involved in since. Greg T, welcome back to our show today. And how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I've had a cold this week, but my voice is somewhat back. So, yay.
Hey, man, your voice sounds great. So I'm glad that you're back.
Appreciate that.
I'm glad that you're back, and I'm glad you're back on the show. Just for our audience here, can you just give them a little bit more about what you do exactly?
Absolutely. As mentioned with my company, I guess we are a branding specialization company and a web development company. So we help people get their real self out there, if you will, the real who they are as a company and individuals, and to when it comes down to business, help them sell. So that's our job.
I love that. You said that the real self get their real business out there. And I think that is something that's really important for any person listening to this episode today about getting the real self out there. You and I, we touched base about this a week ago about what branding actually is. And so in the world of branding, would you feel that it's necessary to really think about how to further brand your business? Or would it just be important for a person to say, as long as I get my name out there, just me, then that's all that matters? Or is it really you should think about branding as well?
That's awesome. And you know what? This is a twofold answer, actually. And I like that. So when it comes to companies, people have pretty much, if you want to get down to it, two ways of going about their company. Either it is a company as a solopreneur or as they are the face of the company, or there is the name of the company. You've got some of the big names in that. So I think people will mention some of the big names like Coca-Cola and Nike and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, most people don't know who the face of that company is.
Right.
So in there, the name of the company and the culture and feeling and perception of what that company is about is essential there. But a lot of smaller companies, and let's be real, I guess, when you're looking at I know here in Canada, you're looking at what is it they say? 96% of companies in Canada are all small businesses. That's huge.
Yeah.
So a lot of those are individuals. So they've got to work on the perception of their own individual name, and personal branding is also a very, very relevant thing to be considering.
I agree with you, the personal branding, because when you look at other brand names too, we'll just put some names out here. For instance, let's look at Microsoft. We know who's behind Microsoft, obviously. If we look at Apple, we know who's behind Apple. We know who's behind Virgin, of course. We know who's behind Amazon. And so these are people that their brand is very strong. And they started out in the beginning, a lot of these guys in basements, just getting the brand out there. And the question is like, should I focus more on like the company brand or more just on me? And I find that it's going to depend on what you're trying to do. So if you are an individual,
do you want me jumping in there? Because you mentioned Apple, and I think they've got a fascinating story when it comes to the branding and their history.
Yeah.
Because the Apple brand, people, the iPhone, so on and so forth. That's huge. It has been for how long now? But when they started out, you had the original founders, and eventually, on the marketing side, Steve Jobs. Well, he was the kind of that focal point. He was the face, and at one point, he was actually kicked out of Apple, right? So at that point, the question came to shareholders and stuff is, are we going to succeed? Are we going to even survive? And because our face is gone, and they did struggle. They came back. I know Steve Jobs came back in. They released the first iMacs, brought them back into the playing field, and started to not just succeed, but exceed in their success. Yes. And then when Steve Jobs passed away, again, it came down to, how are we going to do it now? And it's not that the company was incapable. It's that the face changed, and therefore people's perception changed. So even if we separate it, you still get that connection realistically, right?
You certainly do get that connection. And that's what Apple really stood for, is that personal identification. That's what their whole slogan was, right? And so if we look at what is your personal identification with your business, for the people that are listening today, the entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs, what is your identification with what you're trying to do? Because what happens is when you get out there and you're promoting your business and you are not identifying directly with it, or that business is not representing you, there is going to be some incongruity going on right there. And people are not going to really trust what you're trying to reveal to them, because they're going to see that gap or that space in between. And so we want to make sure that there is a personal identity with your business. And this is what branding is about. Greg, you mentioned about, Apple. Even with my business, when I first started out with Champion Up, I didn't really want to start off as a personal name. Particularly in my industry, everyone goes by their personal names. And I was like, that's fine. But I had such a broader vision of what I wanted for my business overall. And it took me longer, but now we're looking at the business expanding, and people are beginning to associate the word champion with Adrian Starks. They're associating the tiger with Adrian Starks. They're associating these things because of what the business is about. And so that's exactly what I wanted. And what you're teaching people is that, having a brand is actually a great thing, and to be very clear about what your brand is.
Absolutely. I like that you touched about that. To start off, it was slower to begin with. That's important. People in this day and age of instant gratification, we expect things to turn over like in an instant, and it's not the way it happens. That's not real. We've got to be patient. We've got to understand that we have to develop some sort of perception around that brand and who we are as a company. And it's interesting there, because as Champion Up, you're looking now at the ability to, and not saying this is something you're going to do necessarily, but you've got the ability now that as your company gets larger, you get more known, that you may be able to teach people and how you have something that, if you will, you've got almost a built-in succession plan beginning because of the fact that it's Champion Up. So if you're done, you want to retire, you can sell Champion Up. You can't sell Adrian Starks.
That's so true. And that is so important, because that is what it's all about as far as what do you have that in the long run, you can say, okay, do I want to sell this or do I want to, does it continue to carry on? And even when I move on to something different. And this is why I believe that Richard Branson is so powerful at what he does, because every time we're turning around, he's creating something new. We're like, wait a minute, hold on for a second. And because his brand is there, but that's him. And he goes on, he continues to bring more things to the brand. And speaking of brand, when you designed your business, Greg, what was the scariest thing or the highest risk that you had taken when you started, with your business?
That's interesting. I can think of two things right off. First thing was actually figuring out the name. That was critical. And that was critical because I had to look at how far was I wanting to take my company? Was I going to be just a design company? Was I just going to be a marketing company, just a web design company? And that's where the image stop came to. Is that I'll tell you the story. It's just funny.
Yeah, let's hear that. Let's hear that story for our audience here. I want to hear it myself too.
Okay, so my company started under the umbrella of a company that I was working for as a salaried employee. Being a bold entrepreneurial type guy, I actually said to the bosses at one point, "I'm bored. I'm getting my work done by 10, maybe noon every day. I have an idea. We can do a lot more for our clients. Here's what I want to do," and I spelled it out to them, and they said, "Okay." And then I got really bold and said, "Do I do it with or without you?" And that was crazy. So that's the way that started, and they accepted. So first thing was find a name. So I'm on my way to the office the one morning, and I stopped to grab a coffee, and I went to it was actually gas station at local gas station, a Petrocan at the corner, and I walk in, and they had what they called their Java stop, which was where you go get your coffees and stuff in the morning.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I grabbed my Java, and I went, Java stop, the place I go to get Java. Hold it, stop. What do I want to do? I want to work and help people with their image, their branding, how they actually succeed or not based on how people perceive them. The image stop, that's perfect. Fantastic. And that's where it went. So that was the first challenge. Fantastic. Yeah, that was the absolute first challenge. But the second challenge is to maintain the integrity behind what you establish as your culture or as what you're trying to establish as the perceived value of your brand.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Certainly.
This is important for everyone to know.
Yeah. And it's a constant challenge, realistically, and that is to maintain the integrity behind the culture and perceived value or perception of what people see your brand as being. When I finally, after working under the umbrella of the company I was working with, stepped out on a full-time basis in the image stop, I within the first 3 months, had the potential of working with a web design client. And I'll be quite frank, it was phenomenal just jumping in at looking at about a $25,000 website. Now, straight up, that is way above what anything I ever do normally costs. And I was so excited. But after meeting with their board, meeting with their company, getting a tour of their facilities to see what kind of things they do so I could understand how to sell them best, because that's a good thing. And that's a very important thing when you're working with any client. I came out of the meeting and said, I can't work with these people. And that didn't go over necessarily great at home. I'll tell you that. You're starting full time and you're turning down a $25,000 job. What are you doing, right? And I had to say, yeah, because just morally or ethically, I should say, the way that they operated their business, I wasn't comfortable with it. That's not where I stand. And I said, you know what? I don't want to jeopardize the clients I have or the potential clients I'm going to be having by being stuck in something that doesn't fit and isn't congruent with where we stand as a company. And straight up, we said no. They weren't happy with us. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't think we can give you something you're going to be satisfied with. And we stepped aside. And months later, we got it. I had my spouse, like Tanya said to me, I understand. Because we did go forward and we started getting the people we wanted to work with. And yeah, how people see us, because people see you through the eyes of who you associate with, right? So make sure you're aware of that. And it's a constant awareness. Branding is a constant awareness and everything. I think you and I were talking before we started the broadcast here. How you doing today? And I said, honestly, I just getting over this cold, and I don't feel like adulting today. But
Yeah.
right, and that's.
But we're
exactly
doing this.
That's the reality. But let's go to the extent. I said I'm doing this with you. I'm not going to bow out just because I just simply don't feel like it. I have responsibilities to my clients. I will get that done today, and that's the integrity around who I am as a person and my company as a brand, and that's what we do as a whole organization as well. So yeah,
and this is what you stand for, and this is why it's important for our audience today to really get a feel for who you are, Greg, because for you all that are listening, I reached out to Greg a couple of days ago because I knew that he wasn't feeling well. And I said, hey, if you need to reschedule this, let me know.
You gave me an out.
I gave him an out. And I don't do that with very many people. I gave him an out. And he responded back literally in minutes and said, no, it's okay. I can do it. We're going to do this. And that was like, wow. That's why I call him a gentleman. This gentleman responded back to me and said he's going to do this. And that is what it means to be accountable. And that's part of your integrity system as well, ladies and gentlemen, because integrity doesn't mean that you're just this person and you just walk this straight and narrow and this is just how I am. Integrity means that you're not expedient because everyone else is being expedient, that you are really a person that you do things that really are tailored toward your value system that you do not break no matter what. And you stay on that value system, and then people will see that and they will appreciate you so much more. And speaking of staying on track with the value system here, when you decided to move away from that company because they didn't really match with what your value system, Greg, how long did it take for you to see some good results?
Less than a month.
Less than a month? Yeah. That usually takes more time for some people, like months on end.
I'm a little crazy though. Okay. So the way that I operate, just as an individual, as an entrepreneur, I have a very, very strong and very, very, I guess I'm very led to networking and working with other people, to the relationships. And, I think we even mentioned that the last time we were talking that, the key to any business is relational, right? As an example, you've got that old saying where people go, hey, it's not personal, it's business. And, I call BS on that. There's no way. Business is relational, and it is a personal thing. So if you're not developing those relationships, you're not doing it right. And when I went solo, the first thing I did was, start connecting with people, start talking to people, and doing it real, not to sell them. That drives me insane. You meet people for the first time. Hey, here's my card. I can help you with this. That's great. Who are you? Right?
We get, that is, I'm going to go on that too and add in and chime into this with you, because I get that a lot. People hand you your card and say, let's do business. Like, well, I don't even know who you are. And I don't think I want to know who you are by doing this, so it's so important that it's not your card that makes you have this relationship with a person. It's you. And I love that you said that business is personal, because there has been that age-old saying that everyone has continued to operate from about, oh, it's not personal, it's just business. And that's crap too. I believe that, because, hey, if you have a bad relationship with me, or if you do something, or not you, but you're a great guy, but someone else, if they had a relationship, and let's say I had a business deal with someone and they continuously didn't follow through, then what's going to happen between me and that person? I'm going to keep doing business with them? Absolutely not. I don't care how great their products are, how great their business is. If we are not on the same level when it comes to consistency of what we're both delivering to each other, then I'm not going to be involved with it. Right. And this is where we have to be very careful in the world of business, especially if you're starting out, is that it's not about necessarily what you're giving them far as a product, but it's about what you're representing as well, because people can get products anywhere.
Totally.
I will go out of my way to go to a mechanic who is very good with taking care of my car versus go to someone around the corner who doesn't take good care of my car.
That's right.
So we have to be very mindful of that.
Yeah, and building solid relationships in business takes time. And people, I understand people being impatient with that. Again, world of instant gratification, we expect things to happen immediately. But you do have to build those relationships, and there's a trust. People do business with people, and and organizations that they know, like, and trust. And it goes in that order. I know who you are. Okay, let's get to know you. Okay, I kind of like you. And now I see you operate. I see what you've done. Now I trust you. And now let's proceed from there. And it's neat. I've had some general, I guess, inquiries since the last broadcast, right? And I firmly believe that that's because people got to know me a little bit more and went, oh, okay, now I get that. I had just even as recent as yesterday talking to a colleague about and this is just a kind of fun story. And if they're listening, please don't take this wrong because it's not meant to be. But what happened is they came to me and said they were working with another individual who we both know, and they were looking at getting some quotes on doing a new website. And they said, oh, and of course, we're going to send that to you, but we're going to send it to at least one other company too, just to kind of get a feel for it. Now, my instant feeling for myself, because I have a connection with them on the relation basis, as far as friendship, I guess, was, what do you mean you're going to other people? You don't trust me? And then I went, Greg, stop. In my head, right? I mean, Greg, don't worry about it, because they need to do that because maybe they're not at that stage in the relationship as you are, and that's okay. So we will dig further. And, there's a very good chance that we will end up working together on this project, by all means. And if not, I have to make a conscious effort. Do not be offended. Don't be upset about it, because you know what? They may get a great experience from this other person. That's fine. I think you mentioned you can go to somebody else, no problem, and get services done. And having an abundance mentality versus a scarcity mentality is very important.
I'm going to add to that too, because Dr. Wayne Dyer said this. He said there's no scarcity in opportunity to make a living at doing what you love or serving in a business. There's only scarcity of resolve to make it happen. I'm glad you brought up that idea of scarcity versus abundance. So that's so important. And speaking of scarcity, let me ask you a question here about, I believe it's just something that we all need to ask from anyone is, do you believe in luck, fate, or being at the right place, the right time?
Love that question.
Had to ask it.
I believe 100% that we set ourselves up to be in the right place at the right time.
Yes. We set ourselves up. Okay.
Absolutely. We prepare ourselves to be there. How and if we take advantage of it, that's us. That's our doing at the time. But I am a person that, okay, here we're getting to the personal side. This is fun. Okay. No, I did a blog many years ago. And in that blog, I alluded to the fact that today is the best day of your life. And, a lot of people go, well, why is that? Right. And I went in to explain that, if you've gone through a lot of difficulties in your life and, you've been struggling and let's face it, we all go through stuff that kind of sucks. It happens. It happens. That's being human. That's just what happens in life. If you want to get right down, I'll explain that one at the end of this. But anyway, in the blog, I said, today's the best day. Reason being is if you've gone through all those things and things have been really tough, look at where you are today. And if it's better than yesterday, today's the best day. This is something to build on. And if you're in the middle of horrible things right now, today and right now is still the best day, because now is where you make a decision to change that. So I am personally not the kind of person that regrets anything in life. Sure, you've done things wrong or things have gone wrong or things have made things difficult, but what'd you learn from it? And what can you take from that and go forward and make it better? So I love that. I think whatever you've gone through, it helps to make you who you are. And if who you are is a good thing, keep going, right? So yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. I believe that. And that's such an important statement that you just made there about really understanding that we create those opportunities in our life. And that's why you're a courageous creator, because a lot of individuals listening would say, well, that's great, but if I was in your position, if I had this, or if I had this opportunity, people don't realize that behind the scenes of what, these champions across the world, such as yourself, what you go through in order to create what you currently are experiencing. Yeah. And for myself, I don't believe in luck or fate, because I think that's relinquishing our personal responsibility to really create a life on our terms. Nice. Because many people would say, well, it's due to luck, or I just fate, or, I just got the bad breaks, or it's just things don't work into my favor. I mean, I could say all these phrases. Yeah. And the reality is that you're just finding excuses, and you can lose the excuses and find your reasons, then you will begin to, understand how results work. So I'll say it again for our audience, lose the excuses, find your reasons to make your business work. And as Greg mentioned, make sure that you're really having a level of integrity. What does that mean to you? What is your value system? How consistent are you with your branding? Does it match with your personality? Does it match with who you are? Because if it doesn't, there is going to be a conflict and people are going to not feel connected to you as they should be feeling connected to you.
Oh yeah, they'll be uncomfortable. You get right down to it, and that's immediately people turn away and they start feeling uncomfortable in a business, right? And something you said there, like the connection between the individual and the company is huge as a leader. As the owner, as the CEO, as the manager, whatever your position is. If you're leading and where you stand as an individual, it filters through, right? It comes through into your position. And that's huge. That's why, and this is the big statement, I guess, is that branding, ultimately, it's something that does happen every single day. Everything you do is connected to, right? I had something you said just reminded me of something I was going to add to it there, is that so background wise, whatever anyone's beliefs and where they're coming from on a spiritual level, I don't question or argue. I'm not that kind of guy. I myself actually was a youth pastor for 13 years. And I was having a meeting with our pastor once and we were just talking about the people that we helped, and people that we wanted to reach out to and do things with. And our pastor said something to the effect of, there's a lot of people in the world that deal with a lot of horrible things. They've been through unbelievable difficulties in their life, that have pushed them down and beat them down. And even so, the pastor is saying, I have a hard time with people who sit in the excuses of what they've gone through and say that that's why I am the way I am today. That's why I'm in the position I am today, and poor me. And then this is this little bit of a reveal on the Greg side, okay? And then the pastor looked at me and said, but I know all the things you've gone through and the things that have happened to you in your life. And you're one person that if you wanted to wallow in it, I would accept it. Why don't you? And I said, well, again, why am I going to let what's happened to me and what I've gone through in life define me? I am what I need to be because I want to be that. I want to succeed, or I want to be and go places and do things that are where I want to take myself. And I'm not going to let random things that happen in life, whatever that may be, affect or make it so I'm able to do some of those things.
Right.
So I think that's important to everybody. And how does that associate with branding? Again, that's your mindset. What are you bringing to the table on a regular basis? Because people will judge you on your business, on what on everything that you do based on who you are, if they meet you on a social level. And it's
I love that. And Greg, so you have such a large amount of information about branding that I'm so excited for our audience to listen to. And I really love them to learn more about you and to get some more ideas when it comes to branding their business and branding themselves. How can they get in contact with you?
Well, I got one thing that's just a simple, you're talking about more ideas. If people are to go to thebrandguy.ca, that actually is a link to my YouTube channel where I do my branding moments. That would be some great things for people to pick up. Check them all out. I try to do them on a fairly regular basis. And and they are intended nothing more than to help people. Otherwise, theimagestop.com is my company site. Reach out.
Excellent. And we're going to end today with a courageous creator question here, Greg.
On the spot. Here we go.
Drum roll. Here we go. Of all your multiple years of doing this, traveling the world, speaking in front of thousands of people, selling your product or services to people across the world, what has it taught you about succeeding in life?
Mindset. Absolute mindset. I was speaking at an event in Thailand in November, and interesting. Everybody there, their first questions out of their mouths were, "How can I help you?" We had CEOs of billion-dollar companies there that would come to me. They were going, "So what could I do to help your business?" And they weren't in it for themselves. Their mindset was, "How can I help other people?" I came out of that so positive, so excited, so energized to do things for other people. And then oddly enough, I came back to my hometown and into the circles that I'm in. And I will preface this with the people I associate with are very positive. They're very much into helping others. But I almost felt like I had a letdown because it wasn't as huge as it was at the convention, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's mindset. Set yourself out to do for other people. And you know what? It comes around and together we all succeed.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is why Greg is a courageous creator out here in the world doing some amazing things for helping people with their brands. And I would encourage you all to go to his YouTube page and to watch his videos and take notes and to reach out to him about any information that you're looking for. And like Greg mentioned before, mindset. Really think about how can you serve and help people, because your business is not about you. It's about your service. And in order for success to occur in your life, remember, it's an action. So you got to give before you can actually receive. And so think about how can you serve more. But until then, I encourage you all to be that courageous creator in your life. This is the Purposeful Life Show and the Champion Up Podcast with myself, Adrian Starks, and thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed our podcast today, don't forget to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on the powerful life-changing content on future episodes. Also, make sure to go to championup.net for even more life-changing content. Until then, I encourage you to be the courageous creator in your life.